The Dancing with Depression podcast is brought to you by CAS-CM, where CM stands for Content Matters, because content brings people together. There are times in life where nothing illegal happens, nothing immoral happens, but you still walk away feeling like you did something wrong. And sometimes the hardest part isn't the situation itself, it's what the situation starts to make you believe about yourself. This is one of those moments for me, and for a long time, I carried shame that was never actually mine to carry. Welcome to the Dancing with Depression podcast. I'm your host, Adam Turner. This is a space for honest conversations around mental health, where we share, learn, and grow together through real experiences and real perspectives. Over the course of this podcast, I've shared personal stories from different moments in my life, some difficult, some meaningful, some I didn't fully understand until years later. And today's episode includes one of those experiences. But this episode isn't really about bankruptcy. It's about something deeper. It's about the stigma attached to certain experiences, and the way those stigmas can quietly affect how we see ourselves. And for anyone unfamiliar with that word, when I say stigma, I'm talking about the negative meaning, judgment, or assumptions people can attach to a situation, or even to a person going through it. And honestly, before this experience, I thought stigma was more external, almost like a misunderstanding or a prejudice, where certain people or groups viewed something differently. And in my mind, those thoughts could simply be corrected or disproved through education. What I didn't fully understand at the time was how powerful stigma could become internally, how it could slowly affect the way I viewed myself. And looking back now, it almost feels like it was quietly playing tricks on my mind, making the outcome feel bigger than the context, making the shame feel bigger than the truth, making the situation feel like a definition of who I was instead of simply something I was experiencing. Because sometimes what affects us most isn't just what happened, it's the meaning we attach to it, the assumptions we make, the shame we carry, and the fear that somehow this moment now defines who we are. Over time, I came to realize that experience affected me far more mentally and emotionally than I ever acknowledged at the time. Because for me, doing what I said I would do wasn't optional. It was part of who I wanted to be. And over time, I didn't just value being dependable. It became equally important to me that people saw me as trustworthy, responsible, principled. That was how I wanted to be identified. And honestly, I took pride in that. Because when someone needed help, I showed up. When something got difficult, I figured it out. When responsibility appeared, I carried it. And that sounds positive until life puts you in a position where you can't handle it alone anymore. Because now, asking for help doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It feels like it conflicts with who you believed you were. What I came to realize is The stigma attached to a situation can slowly change the way you view yourself inside. At least for me, I stopped seeing I'm going through something difficult and started believing there must be something wrong with me. And the scary part is, a lot of that happened quietly. Sure, I still smiled, still went to work, still had conversations, still tried to look normal. Meanwhile, internally, I was replaying every decision, questioning my judgment, wondering what people would think if they knew. And slowly I stopped worrying only about the situation and started worrying about what the situation meant about me. There's something I didn't understand at the time. Filing for bankruptcy was never just about the money. It was about identity. Because I wasn't just afraid of the process, I was afraid of what the process represented. I thought people would see me differently, like I had failed, like I had been irresponsible, like I was now that type of person. And whether anyone actually saw me that way or not, I saw myself that way. And looking back, this wasn't reckless spending. It wasn't trying to impress people. It wasn't living wildly beyond my means. It was a series of decisions that, at the time, genuinely felt responsible. Trying to help someone, trying to honor commitments, trying to make things work. The market shifted unexpectedly. Buyers backed out. Renters stopped paying. Somewhere along the way, I started pouring every resource I had into trying to protect my word. As I reflect on it now, I think the stigma attached to bankruptcy caused me to lose sight of all the complexity and only focus on where things ended up. At the time, all I could see was the outcome. At this point, I wasn't just financially exhausted. I was mentally exhausted because every setback started reinforcing the story in my head. You should have known better. You're failing. You created this. You're supposed to figure this out. And the scary part is, a lot of people would have never known how much I was struggling internally because I still showed up, still had conversations, still tried to appear okay. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was carrying pressure, shame, fear, exhaustion, and trying my best not to let anyone see it. And eventually, I stopped separating the situation from my identity. And what made it heavier was that I didn't just feel responsible for my decisions. I started taking responsibility for everything. The market shifting, people backing out, someone else's addiction, promises other people failed to keep. I over-owned all of it because somewhere in my mind, if I could just carry enough of the responsibility, maybe I could still fix it. And I remember worrying, not just about the bankruptcy itself, but about what people would think if they found out. Would people lose respect for me? Would they question my judgment? Would this follow me forever? Would this quietly erase the credibility I spent years building? Thinking back, that's what the stigma attached to bankruptcy did to me. It slowly changed the way I viewed myself. The situation became bigger than everything else, bigger than the context, bigger than the intentions, bigger than the effort. And eventually, It stopped feeling like something I was experiencing and started feeling like who I was. Sometimes things fall apart without it being your fault. And sometimes the greatest damage comes from believing the situation says more about you than it actually does. And looking back now, that's the part that connects so deeply for me to mental health. For me, it wasn't that I thought support couldn't help. I was afraid of what needing support said about me. And when I look at conversations around mental health, I can't help but wonder how many others may feel something similar. In hindsight, bankruptcy wasn't the thing that hurt me most. It was the shame I attached to it, the meaning I gave it, the way it quietly changed how I viewed myself. And while I can only speak for myself, I have a feeling I'm probably not alone in that. What's something you've been avoiding? Not because it wouldn't help, but because of what you think it says about you. Because when it comes to discrediting stigmas, what I've come to realize is situations may become part of our story, but they don't have to become our identity. And when it comes to depression, taking the lead doesn't mean pretending everything is okay. It means refusing to let stigma define who you are. And when it comes to discrediting stigmas, remember to take the lead. Ever heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child? Well, same applies here. It takes an awesome audience like you to help get this message in front of someone who needs to hear they're not alone. That's why I ask for your continued support. Whether you like, share, follow, or leave a review, and if so inclined, can donate, it all helps more than you know. If something resonated, pass it along. You never know who needs it. Want to connect? Email me anytime. dancingwithdepression@yahoo.com. And remember, when it comes to depression, take the lead. Content and safety notice. Dancing with Depression may include discussions of suicide, self-harm, trauma, and emotional distress. Listeners' discretion advised. This podcast shares personal experiences and is not a substitute for professional mental health care. If you need immediate support, call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For non-crisis help and resources, contact NAMI at 1-800-950-6264.